Welcome back, Tammy.
Thank you, Salima, for having me on my own YouTube channel.
It's nice for you to be in front of the camera sometimes.
It is nice to be in front of the camera sometimes.
So, in part one of our conversation about your weight release journey, we covered lots of things. Diet, what inspired you to get onto your weight release journey, the emotions that you were experiencing. And if you haven't seen that video, check it out. We'll link to it. So in this part two, we're giving the folks an update, letting folks know where you are, how menopause has really impacted your journey.
Yeah.
And let's dive into it. You ready?
I'm ready.
Well, I do think that first we should talk about food. How has your food changed since our last conversation?
How does my food change? It unfortunately, I go all the way to one side, then I go all the way to another side, and then I have to come back to the middle. So I tried intermittent fasting for a while, and I didn't really feel like that worked for me. I went through a period not too long ago in which I thought walnuts were really good for you, and I ate a lot
of them
and realized that those were putting me backwards instead of forwards.
How so?
I could feel my weight went up. My stomach was not right. That was just like too many nuts.
Yeah, they're very high in calories.
And I didn't realize. And so that's why I went back to measuring my food, because I was like, okay, hold on. I need to go back to the basics.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel optimal and I have to figure out what's going on. And so I went back to measuring my food. And I was looking through the app and I was like 300 calories for one food group. And I was like, what? That must be a mistake. I must have put that in wrong, which led me down the rabbit hole of looking at what an actual serving size of walnuts is and realizing that, yes, that was 300 calories of just walnuts in my yogurt. And I would do that a couple of times. So I easily was eating like 800 calories in walnuts. And I was like, every day. And so that was really frustrating for me. I was like, what is happening? I don't understand. So that was a really good lesson. And just because something is healthy, you really can't have too much of a good thing. And you really do want to see, how many calories are in things. But nothing can replace me coming back to my center and eating for feeling good. And so when I do that, it really consists of high protein, low carbs, vegetables, some like broccoli and like arugula. I don't do kale and things like that because it oxalates. It's the whole thing, right? And it's so crazy making.
Yeah.
So that's why, again, I come back after I do all my crazy making and I go all out and I come back to my center. I come back and I eat the exact same way every day, all the time.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because people don't realize how much information necessarily that they're taking in. And everyone says that everything works and that this is the way you should eat. This is the way you should move. This is the way you should diet. And everything does work, but you really have to figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
And you have to tune into your own body. And how can you help people do that? What does that feel like to return to your center and to know what feels optimal inside of you?
I'm really big about weighing food. I like to weigh my food because I am a visual learner and I'm also data driven. So I like to know what 30 grams of something looks like. Like I can theorize it, but usually I'm wrong, right? So what does that look like? And so when I see what it looks like coupled with what my goal is, it's much easier for me to stick to something.
And with the weighing, I mean, we've even recently learned that the weighing of our hemp hearts was not the same in terms of the serving size of what it said on the package. Fascinating that it's just like, how is the packaging incorrect? So I think that weighing food, while it might sound like a tedious step, I think it helps people. It certainly helped you realize how much food and also to relate food and how much you're eating and what's on your plate to satiety, like to satisfaction.
I'm big on weighing food because, to your point with the hemp hearts, it seems like I don't think it's supposed to be this way. All tablespoons seem to be different, or perhaps it's the way we fill our tablespoons are different
level,
right? So I'm not sure. So that's why we have a scale in our kitchen, and that's why everything always goes on the scale. So I think once you've measured your food and you see what that looks like, then I think you sit down without distraction and you eat. And that's really going to tell you, when am I hungry?
Yeah.
When am I satisfied? So I think that matters. And I think you have to do that over a span of time to really understand what your body likes and what your body doesn't like. Because you could easily be eating something that someone loves.
Yeah.
And you could eat it and it just doesn't sit right with you. You're like, oh, I felt bloated. It didn't feel right for me. Then you should stop, right? Then that's not the food for you. Your body isn't jiving with that right now. And I don't really think that happens if we eat fast, eat on the fly, or eat in front of devices. I don't even think that really can happen, like eating a family meal in which you're like sitting and talking because you're not connecting. So I think that this isn't forever, but I think there absolutely has to be a period of time in which there's this solitude in which you're really reconnecting and figuring out what works for you. And then this is the hard part. Do the boring work of the same thing.
Yeah, that's true.
All the time.
That's true. Because when we figure out what works, like, why would we stop?
Because you get bored. I mean, I do it all the time. I'm like, I don't think this is working anymore. And like to some points, you do have to switch things up. More often than not, I have found for myself that I am not switching things up because they're not necessarily working anymore. I'm switching them up because I'm bored. And I think that if I do something else, it's going to get me to my goal faster. Yeah. When in reality, it just really slows me down.
Yeah. And then there was a point that you mentioned about switching things up. Oh, I lost it. It doesn't. Well, no. Switching things up and then needing to versus the crazy making around switching things up. And there have been some significant changes that you needed to make because of menopause. So in our last conversation, I don't know if we realized maybe that you were perimenopausal.
I think we did.
I don't think we did at all. But since then, like, you are post-menopausal.
Yes.
No more periods.
Yeah.
And that is a big seasonal shift and transition. How has that impacted, like, where you are in your body, in your mind, in your journey, like, all the things?
You know, menopause is interesting. The way I realized I was even in peri was like, Salima, there's like this heat inside of me. To my knowledge, I didn't really ever experience hot flashes. It's like, why am I so hot? I'd wake up at night and I'm like, oh my God, I'm drenched in sweat. And you're like...
Hot flashes, night sweats.
Right. And you're like, I think you're in perimenopause. And I had an app, and so I was like, oh yeah, I'm like, my period, I missed it.
It just stopped.
It just
like,
stopped.
It just stopped. It wasn't like on and off for some people. No flooding that some people experience, like really heavy to really light. It just stopped. And you were just like, tracking the calendar.
That was when I was like, oh, something is changing. And I also realized in my workouts, like it's not that I couldn't work out, but I did this thing called 5K Sundays. I wanted to run a 5K, and it wasn't like a race. It was just me. A 5K every Sunday. And I did that for 6 months because I wanted to see if I could do it. And what I realized is, yes, I could do it. And I felt awful.
Yeah.
Like my joints hurt. And I was really confused as to why my joints hurt so much, because before, now I wouldn't necessarily run a 5K every Sunday, but I was running every day and my joints didn't hurt like that. And so I was like, I can do this because I did.
There's a consequence.
There is a consequence because I kept pushing myself and I was like, all right, you have to have like your moment of, are you going to keep doing this? And so I stopped. I had to find a different way of exerting myself.
I stopped going to the gym when I realized I didn't sign up for unsolicited advice and awkward small talk. I came to work out, not make friends. Now I've got my own setup, my circuit, my rules, with weights, rowing, biking, yoga, and this bad boy, the YeSoul T3 Plus treadmill. Built-in screen mirroring means I can stream YouTube, music, movies, or the Peloton app, whatever I want, no subscriptions, no nonsense. The auto incline goes up to 10%, so I can feel like I'm running hills without ever leaving my house. With a 21.5-inch HD screen and surround sound, it's basically my personal theater, just sweatier. And when I'm done, it folds up and tucks away, unlike that guy at the gym who wouldn't stop looking at my butt while I did my squats. It's affordable, sleek, and drama-free. The YeSoul T3 Plus, because the best workout partner is the one that doesn't talk back. Enjoy fun cardio with YeSoul.
And I had to add in more rest. It's not, and oddly enough, I had to add in more rest, which was,
Resistance.
gosh, that was so difficult for me. I did not want to do that at all, but I had to add in more rest. And what more rest looked like was I started doing Pilates, and I started doing more yoga, and I started walking more. I kind of went back to bringing in some of the things that I was doing before. Before I was doing a lot of walking, and I started upping my weights. But what I would say is what menopause is giving me is it's giving me, and if I allow it, permission to do the things that make me feel good. Because, you know, this whole journey for myself started with, I want to be able to play with Niles.
Yeah.
I want to not be doubled over in pain.
Yeah.
I want to have energy. Well, you know, fast forward, yes, that matters, but I can do that. But now it's more. And it's really about wanting to feel good in my body and in my mind. And menopause is really giving me that permission, because it is physically forcing me to make new decisions. And not new decisions that are less than, even though sometimes by society standards they might seem less than, but new decisions on something very personal for what you need. It's almost like it's a dialed in plan just for me. And it allows me to really decide how I want to live my life. And it's changed. It's like mobility is super important to me. Strength is super important to me. And I think what is kind of gets a little difficult is the vanity metrics attached with that. I am guilty of that all day long, of looking at someone and being like, oh my gosh, in 1 year, they went from 300 pounds and now they look like a bodybuilder. What am I doing wrong? And it's like, and you tell me all the time, you're like, you don't know who that person is. You don't know they're come through, they're gone through, they're going through, right? You don't know any of those things. It's that constant reminder that we are all individuals and we are all on a collective journey, but our own path. I really want this new stage of my life to be of more ease. I really want it to be enjoyable. I really want it to be filled with love and laughter.
I think that you are talking about menopause in a very different way than most people. Like, it sounds like something that you're being really intentional about being graceful, enjoyable, even though there's the constellation of symptoms that are happening, joint pain and like musculoskeletal pain, people don't realize is a huge part of the menopausal transition. And so can you speak to that? Because I don't think that the conversation, the collective conversation about perimenopause and menopause is as uplifting as you were just describing
let me tell you.
it.
I am not subscribing to that, because that's not what I want. Why would I continue to think thoughts that I don't want? Why would I continue to think of this period as anything but bliss and beautiful if that is my intention? Right? And I think it goes back to, like, what do you want? I spent many years being very happy and very content in misery. Right? I know what that feels like. I know that's a warm, cozy place to settle into. But I worked too hard to get out of that. Right. And a shift in life.
A natural shift. Like, you can't go back.
I can't.
So
right? Like, it's not going to happen. So I can either look forward and be like, yo, let's do this. What can I do? How do I want to show up in this period? Or I can allow myself to go back into my hole and be all miserable and be like, oh, this sucks. I mean, there's sometimes that it's not delightful, right? It's not delightful to feel like these hot flashes are like this throughout the entire day. It's not delightful to not be able to sleep through the night and wake up drenched, or to feel like these moments of like vertigo of being like, what just happened? So I don't want to sit here and say like those things don't happen, right? Because 1,000% they do. With that said, I look at them as invitations. So the hot flashes, I looked at it as an invitation to figure out what my body was really asking of me, and then showing up in that way. With the vertigo, I did the same thing. What are you asking of me, and how do I show up? That is my mindset around menopause. Instead of looking at it as something that is happening to me, I'm looking at it as something that is happening for me, as an invitation to go in deeper and connect with my body.
And then you mentioned a lot about movement, and you sprinkled in that you do weights and that you were running and that mobility is really important. And first of all, I want to take people on a tour on our home gym because it's amazing. We've done a lot to like just build out a whole room. Build makes it really sound grand. We'll show you some pictures. But we devoted a whole room.
I'm like, we didn't really build anything,
we didn't build anything, but we have so much equipment. We have a nice little circuit going. So we'll put that up on the screen. But in terms of movement, how has your movement changed since our last conversation and since menopause?
I am much stronger.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. I went back to the first video that we did, and full disclosure, it was a little triggering because I looked at that video and I felt like I looked better, right? This is the vanity metrics that I was talking about earlier. I felt like I looked better than I do now. And my first thought was, what's happening? And I had to stop and I had to say, okay, I think that was like 3 years ago. First of all, that was 3 years ago. And life has lifed, right? So there's one thing. So there has been stress, ups and downs as everyone's life does. But it's also my body composition has changed. Because I also remember back to that time that I was happy with the number on the scale, but I wasn't necessarily happy with the composition of my body. I was very flabby and I still was very much like this, trying to keep it all together. Fast forward to now, and I've really been able to push myself further and heavier to lift heavier. And I've also noticed that my body composition is different. I am tighter. I am stronger. I have better posture. I have better command over my body. And so that's when I really had to think about a mind shift again. Yes, it started with wanting to do certain things and wanting to move your body, right? But eventually, let's be honest, it absolutely moved into I want to look a certain way. Right. It absolutely moved into I want to see a six-pack. I want definition in my arms, right? And when that wasn't happening, actually, I can't even say when it wasn't happening because it was happening, but I couldn't see it. Yeah. Right? I could not see it. Like I'd look in the mirror sometimes and I'd be like, oh, you have a six-pack. Like you look amazing. You look great. And then like the next day I could look and I'd be like, oh my gosh, what has happened? What is going on? Like you can't lose it that fast. Right? Like it doesn't work that way.
Or at least you don't want it to work that way.
It's hard to see something new looking at you in the mirror when you've made such a big change. Hard to let go of the fear that you're going to backslide. Right? And so you hold on, you choke that. No, I'm never going back. But like that's not a way to live either, because you really start finding that you're not happy. Like
you're always bracing for the bad.
Well, you're bracing for impact. Like I'm ready, and that's not joyful. And so in this time, I forgot what your original question was.
It's about exercise.
Oh, it's about exercise. But all that is tied into exercise because we can go to the gym and we can work. But if you can't see
you can't see your
progress, then you can't see what's looking back at you, then all of that will be more of like a hamster wheel, right? But I think that the two really have to come together. I don't think that they can work alone. They're not in silos. They must come together. And so, yes, my workouts are less, they're intensive, but they're intensive in different ways. So instead of getting my heart rate up by running, I might get my heart rate up of getting on the treadmill with a weighted vest, putting the incline up to 10. So I'll get my heart rate up that way. I'll push myself in weights. Like, let's just see. Can you push out one at this weight? Exercise has turned more about getting my heart rate up in a more gentle way for my body.
I think you bring up a good point around how exercise has to change. I think I'm trying to remember what you said.
See, you don't remember either.
I know. Brain fog, perimenopause.
Brain fog is
real. I can bring in things because I've been like witnessing your journey. And I know that it wasn't always this place in which you felt enthusiastic about. Even though you liked physical movement, like you liked to be in your body in physical ways. And I've seen you go from 5-pound weights to 45-pound weights. And so I'm curious if you can help people like embrace the journey and not stay fixated on the goal or a vanity metric.
I don't know if I can help you with the vanity metric. I'm still working through that at my own. Right? It comes and it goes, right? One day I could be like so strong and be like, nah, I'm good. And then I might go on social media and hear or see something and be like, I'm doing nothing with my life. It could be like those dramatic swings. But I think, and I heard this recently, and I've heard it before, but it was a really great reminder that we can do more than we think. And we're stronger than we think. I try and take that mentality into the gym. I just keep trying. I remember there was a period in which I wasn't doing, and this isn't just exercise, this is anything in life. I wasn't doing things like I once was. And I started realizing that fear was coming up around doing things. I can't even think of something that I was like apprehensive about. Our washer broke. Something having nothing to do with exercise. Yeah. Our washer broke. And usually I can fix things. I'm a little handy, right? I'd say I'm a little handy. But quite. But the washer broke and I immediately was filled with anxiety and fear. And I was like, oh my gosh, now we're going to have to buy a washer. I realized that I stopped doing things with my hands because my measure of success was I should be able to hire someone to fix it. And so if that was my measure of success, then that means I'm not doing it. And so I realized I stopped doing these things and the fear in me came up and I was scared to do it. And so I realized I was like, oh my gosh, this is a muscle that I have to keep flexing. I have to keep doing things so that when new things come into my experience that I don't know how to do, or perhaps I've never embarked on, I am not frozen in fear and can't move forward. So my phrase is I punched fear in the face and I got on YouTube. I watched a video. I ordered the part. And I fixed the washer twice. I felt so proud that I did that on my own. Confidence, right? So now translate that into anything, but for the purpose of this conversation, exercise. Now I go into the gym. I've been lifting, let's say for an overhead press, I've been doing 20 pounds. And I'm like, I've been doing 20 pounds for a while now. And the way I frame it for myself is I pick up, let's say 25 pounds. And I say, let's just see one. Let's just push out one, right? And no pressure. Push out one. And once you get that one, you just keep going. Like, if you could do it, you do just keep going. If you can't do it, then you're like, oh, not ready yet. So that's when you're like, well, maybe I can still work with the 20 pound, but just go slower so that it's still challenging, right? So you make these modifications and you learn these modifications along the way. But the whole point is that you have to work your muscles, but they're not just like your biceps. They're not just your quads. Confidence is a muscle that you have to work and you have to show up for to elevate yourself.
But what you're saying, I think, requires a lot of patience of people. I think when they're wanting to start on a journey, they want to receive results immediately. You did.
I did.
You want to see results immediately and go out the box, maybe trying to do a 10-mile bike ride because you used to be able to do that when you were a kid, but now you're 40, 50 years old, and it's like your whole physiology is changed since then. So I'm like, how do you help people tap into the patience that's required? Because there's other things than just go do it. There's so many mental hurdles that need to be overcome for people to do it consistently.
Give yourself the space to crazy make. Don't sit there and be like, I'm not going to obsess over the scale. I'm not going to obsess over the food. I'm not going to. Yes, you are. So let's just get that out of the way. Yeah. That is going to happen. And your partner, or your spouse, or your family, they have to know that. Like, don't get mad at me. Yes. Is this the 50th time you're hearing me being like, what is happening on the scale? Yes, it is. Yeah. But, and this is the caveat, that can't stop you. Yeah. Get it out and now say, okay, I looked at the scale, or I looked at my plate, or I ate this, or I did this. Now I'm ready to continue. Because first of all, you can't go backwards and you can't change
Yeah.
it. And the only thing you can control is how you move forward. So give yourself that moment, and it is a moment. You can't sit in that forever. Give yourself this moment to be like, okay, and then continue on with doing what it is that you said you want to do. And I believe that this transfers into other areas of your life. I don't believe this is just diet, exercise, mindfulness. I think those are super important. But I think this transfers into all areas of our lives. If we keep wanting to subscribe to just power through and keep having a conversation as if those moments of doubt and frustration and aggravation don't happen, then I don't think that we're pushing this needle forward in a conversation of a whole person's experience of life. Not just a journey of releasing weight or recomposition of your body, but this is everything, right? There's everything. You could look at your career and be like, what am I doing, right? We are 40 plus, and more often than not, conversations with other 40 pluses are, what am I doing with my life? That is a running theme, right? What am I doing with my life? Or I'm just holding it together, right? That
with tape.
With tape. Well, sometimes with with tape that you just pulled off the carpet, so it's not so sticky. And there are moments where you can laugh about that, and there are times that you can cry about it. But I think that this is the season that we're in, and this is the question. These are the questions that are being asked. So let's not hide behind them. Let's not act like they're not happening, because they are. And I think when I hear someone talk about it, it gives me permission to feel my feels and then keep going. Because my goal is I want to be happy. I want to feel good. I want to have energy. And I know what it feels like not to. Going back is not an option.
But how does that become not an option for somebody who's had a similar journey and experience and has a lot of more hardship behind them? You know, I think that there's more than just the physical work. There's a lot of mindset work that has to go into any type of journey that people are embarking on. So what are some supportive practices you can offer people?
Yeah, I don't think that I could be where I am right now without my meditation or my meditative practice. I had to start very slow because there's a lot that happens up in here, and it's and I didn't want to dive into it. I was like, no, there's a lot of crazy up in there. I'm good. I don't want to dive into that pool. But I realized, I was like, I have to.
That's the stuff that's holding you back.
That's what's holding me back. Yeah. Like if I can't get myself here, how can I ever live a joyful life? And so the way I started was 30 seconds. I'm going to take this time. I'm going to lay down. I lay down when I meditate. I set a timer for 30 seconds. And I was extremely scared because it was really scary to go into my mind. And I thought that if I allowed myself to relax and go into my mind, that something bad was really going to happen. I had to gradually just be like, it's okay. Just relax. Just relax. It's only 30 seconds. And it was a lot of talking. It was a lot of talking me down. And I probably got a moment of maybe like 10 seconds, maybe 5 seconds, relaxed. And then the timer went off.
Right.
But what that taught me when I came out of that was everything is okay. The world is still spinning. And like we say that, and that's like a dramatization. I didn't think the world was going to stop spinning. But it was this fear that like you'd get a phone call that like someone died or something happened.
Yeah.
And
you thought you were holding your whole world together.
I literally thought that by me being like this, I was holding my whole world together. And if I went like this, my whole world would fall apart. And it was that is harder than any weight I've ever lifted in my life. That is harder than any run, was to let go and to trust and to have faith. And so, fast forward now, I do about an hour every day, every morning. The first thing I do when I open my eyes is I drop in to a meditative space, a meditative state. And it's not just the first, it is the first time, when I first wake up, but it's also throughout the day. It's these mini check-ins to realign myself, to keep myself in this state of inner peace. It's glorious. I look forward to it. It's probably one of my favorite times of the day. One of the most important, many, is having time just for me. Like, this is my time. This is my sacred time. I don't share it with anybody. I don't feel obligated to share it with anybody. I absolutely love it. Probably one of the most important times of my day so that I can show up in my life the way I want to.
But you have to believe that you are important in order to give yourself everything that you
That comes with time. You say that, but it comes with time. I didn't think I was important.
I know.
I didn't like myself.
That's why I'm bringing it up.
Oh. I was like, that comes...
Because so many people will feel guilty. So many people will do so many other excuses.
I did.
Put everyone else on the front burner, not consider themselves.
I did.
And actually not realize how much that disrupts a family unit when you don't care for yourself, when you don't make yourself a priority. That's not comfortable for anyone that you're in relationship with. Everyone wants to see you cared for, but like you have to do that, you know?
Yeah. I did all of those things. It's not like I laid down and meditated because I was like, you're the bee's knees, damn it. Like, no, I didn't think that at all. I didn't think any of those things. And to be honest, you were super mad at me.
Yeah.
You were really mad at me and you were really frustrated and fed up with me. Yeah. It was the same conversation. I was like, something's got to change. Who I think I am. Yeah. And so you're asking me to be someone else. I understand you're asking me to be someone else for my own good because my inner voice is asking me to be somebody else. Right? And it's not somebody else, but it's asking, please find me. Please find the trueness of who you are. I can't tell you why it's so scary. I can just tell you that it is very scary. I understood very well that I was at a crossroads in my life. And this was, I don't know, like early 40s. It's not easy. And you really do have to make a decision. Yeah. And most of the time, the decision is anything is better than this. And it's just like, let's go. I would like to say that I didn't have to get to that point, but I did. I had to get to the point that I was sick and tired of myself because I wouldn't even change for you. I knew you were mad at me, but even that
it's not going to be enough. I know.
Wasn't enough, right?
You weren't happy with yourself. I mean, that's
but even not being happy with myself, I could still renegotiate that. Right. In my mind, I could flip that around. And the way I flipped that around is it was really easy for me to just pour into someone else. So I could really easily just pour into you and put you first and be like, see, look what I've done for you. Look how great you are. And I can keep the hierarchy, right? I can keep myself in the shadow and I can keep rising you up so that my story still says true. Right? But you're asking me to bring myself up. And I was like, well, that means that my story isn't true. And that means that I've got to do work on me. I can't just keep pouring into you. And that means that I have to work on how I actually see and think of myself. And that means I actually have to come up in here. And I don't want to do any of that. But then there hits a point that I was like, there's no other options. There are no other options on the table. Yeah. What you gonna do? And I made a decision. And I don't think that anyone can sit in any seat and say, you do this and you do this. I can only say, this is what I did. And I can only hope for everyone else in the world that you don't have to get to the point where there's no other options. That you recognize your worth and what you want, and then you go for it from that place.
I want to circle back to your body and your self-image, because when we had our previous conversation, you said that the excess weight felt like protection. Yeah. So what do you see when you look in the mirror now?
I don't feel like I need that anymore. I feel really strong, but not just physically strong. I feel really mentally strong. Yeah. And I think it's the mentally strong that old version of myself needed protection from, because I wasn't mentally strong. So the weight could serve as that barrier. But now I feel a lot more mentally strong that I don't need this barrier. I don't allow everyone's opinion to be gospel for me. That comes back to a meditative practice, spending time alone, figuring out what works for me. Acknowledging that I will go all the way to one side and all the way to the other and come back to the middle. You're not lesser because of that.
And then I think there's going to be a lot of people who in their 40s, their 50s, maybe their 60s, thinking about that maybe it's too late for them to start, do you have any words of encouragement?
Let me tell you, I hear all the time, oh, our young people. They're important. I'm not saying they aren't. But I feel like when we say that, we discount our 40, 50, 6-year-olds in terms of you're done. Now you're done, and we have to always pour into the younger people. And truth be told, some of the younger people seem like they're doing much better than a 40, 50, 60-year-olds. I'm like, I need to be poured into the
As
40.
well. Hello.
Like, I need some like reassurance. Like, can I do this? Can I keep going? And I'm here to say, yes, you can. You 40, you're 50, you're 60, you're 70, you're 80, you're 90. Like,
you're still here.
You're still here. I subscribe to, if I'm still here, then I'm still here to do something. And let's go. You've got to find it in yourself. Yeah. Like, you can pull inspiration from others 1,000%. But if all you do is pull and you don't take in and then do.
A lot of people are distracted by that. By the consumption of information and not the integration and action of it.
No, you have to come up with your own filtration system. And it's fine. You want to take information in, and there is a lot. And that alone can get overwhelming. Sometimes it's just like, I gotta stop. I can't anymore. But if you're gonna take in information, you have to do. There is no replacement for doing.
And starting small.
Advice. Because I always start small. Low-hanging fruit.
She's the queen of micro movement.
I'm step A, A1, A2, A3, A4. Look, lowest hanging fruit, start small. Because if the game is longevity, don't come out the box. I haven't been on the basketball court in 20 years, and I'm going to go play full court with some teenagers. Why are you going to do that to yourself? That ain't going to end well. Right?
Right. It's not.
Don't do that. But that's not to say that you can't get there. Right? And I think that's the distinction. I'm not saying you can't get there. I'm just saying maybe you shouldn't start there.
Well, this is great. I think this gave people a really good insight into the update, how you're feeling. If there's any questions in the comments for Tammy, let us know.
Thank you, Salima. I appreciate this conversation. It was a lot of fun with you.
Welcome back to your platform.
To our platform. Well, I'm usually on the other side of the camera. But, all right. Don't forget to subscribe.
Now, how is Babe different since she lost weight?
Her energy has calmed down, and she has been on a workout schedule, and now she's much more strong.
Good. Thank you,
Niles. Thanks, Niles.